Let's extend our talk to the types of pragmatics. Pragmatics is a very broad category and it is further divided into various subfields and subcategories. Based on certain articles published in the Journal of Pragmatics, the pragmatics can be divided into two major fields, and they may be known as theoretical pragmatics and social pragmatics. Theoretical pragmatics focuses on the particular aspects of meanings and how they could be understood with the help of certain formal accounts of language use. I mean, how language is used in certain contexts and how these contexts can help us in understanding the meaning is probably it is the domain of theoretical pragmatics. In comparison, social pragmatics focuses on various aspects of the meaning and the relationship between language use and more uh, general context, for example, sociocultural factors of language use. Those factors which actually uh, instigate or actually produce certain kind of utterances in certain situations. How these factors and the description of these factors adds meaning or enhances the meaning of some utterances, that is probably the property of social pragmatics. Jung probably identifies this split into two geographical divides. He thinks that we have an Anglo-American uh, section of pragmatics which deals with theoretical pragmatics, and we have European continental group of pragmatists which deal primarily with social pragmatics. And one of the basic differences between these two groups has been in the data they deal with. They deal with different kinds of data, and therefore they produce different kinds of scholarly outputs based on which we can produce pragmatics into theoretical and social domains. A theoretical pragmatics is not centrally concerned with describing and analyzing what people do in specific communicative situations. Rather, it deals with how meaning can, in general, be communicated between speakers and hearers. So, description of the context and its details may not be an essential or the primary factor in theoretical pragmatics. Rather, it looks into finding the meanings in relation to some kind of language use. For instance, if you look at the example here, we have two statements in front of you. Alexander believes that Cicero was a great orator of the past. The other statement is Alexander doesn't believe that Tullus was a great orator of the past. In both these examples, we see that we do not have the details of the context. They are not given, and we do not know who said this, where this was actually said, and who they are talking to. Once you know that Cicero and Tullus were different names for one person, for the same person, this raises interesting questions. This needs more explanations. And such questions are the points of further exploration for theoretical pragmatics. So, in theoretical pragmatics, we deal with all these interesting questions, and through answers of these questions, we try to formulate the pragmatic meanings. On the other hand, the examples that appear together with a description of their context are typical more of a social than a theoretical pragmatics. So, all those examples of some talk or some utterances which include an embedded detail of the context, they may be more relevant to social pragmatics. And in this regard, we have the disciplines like conversational analysis and discourse analysis, which are more relevant to social pragmatics. If you see an example in front of you, we have a context clearly explained here. The context is, if you have written 3 books, you are eligible to apply for professorship. I mean, in this context, a character is talking to his friend, and Jane's friend is talking about Jane. Jane should certainly consider applying for the post because she has written 3 books, which is in the context is the eligibility criteria for professorship. Rather, she has written 4 books, so she is actually pressing upon Jane to apply for the post. These explanations have to deal with all those socio-cultural factors which can add to the meanings. If you just drop the context which is written on the top, and it would be very difficult to figure out the deep meanings or social meanings of this statement in front of you. But if you include that context, it becomes very easy to understand the meanings there. So theoretical and social pragmatics, though they may be related with each other, they differ on their focus in some ways. But both are very relevant and important to understand the pragmatic meanings of utterances in a general way.